Hi, Engineering 1210. Andy here. Now, you've gone through 2 tutorials and you've had lots of my approximately 10-minute videos introducing you to SolidWorks. And it's all been kind of in the computer. Well, as I said at the very outset in one of the first videos, that the objective of what you're doing in design and in engineering is to make stuff. Make things that work, make things that do something. And now in your 3rd tutorial, what you're being asked to do is to take that birdhouse or bat house or whatever design and actually think about how you're going to make it. Because we left it off with a solid kind of 3-dimensional thing that just, it's one thing. But you know, that's really impossible to build. So let's go back to the drawing board, literally, and see if we can come up with a way to actually build the thing. So, like I've said before, we never start with CAD. We start with the concept, sketch, kind of laying out what you're going to do, and then you move on to the CAD after you've got that sorted. So we've got this birdhouse or bat house or whatever, and mine looks pretty funky, and I think I'm going to change some of the features of it. It's just a solid block, but you know, I can't make that. I know that I think what I'd like to do is I'd like to make the sort of thing, and I'm going to draw it really simplistically here. I'd like to make it kind of in 3 parts. That's the vertical, and it's going to be a hollow shell. And I know that I'd like to have a base for it. And I can probably make that out of a piece of wood. I think I'm going to make this shell out of cardboard. I've got some box board or maybe recycled milk container, but I'm actually going to use box board because I know how to get access to a laser cutter, and so do you. This could be plywood or a piece of pine or spruce, something that would be organic and nice for the animals inside. And then we'll have some kind of a lid on it. Now maybe that lid will also be out of cardboard. So I essentially have 3 parts there. Not 1, but 3. Maybe I'll add some other things too. I'll put these holes in the front, and maybe I'd like to have a dowel sticking out and sticking through the thing. I definitely want to have, that might be another part. Draw that over here. I definitely want to have some way to hang this thing up. So I bet you I'm going to want to put some holes in the side, and in those holes I'm probably going to take a piece of wire and make a hook. And so that will be my wire hook. So going from the CAD sketch that you did already to this picture will be an interesting thing. We've got, I'll call it part 1, the vertical body. We've got part 2, the base. We've got part 3, the roof. And we've got part 4, the perch. And part 5, the hook. Now, we're going to need maybe 2 times of those hooks because I've got to hook it on the branches that we talked about before. But so now, that's pretty ugly. Now, you know, this gives a better picture of what I need to make. Clearly, this is not a single part. This is an assembly. So we need to look at this picture of things, and we need to see that, okay, it's an assembly, and now, as you saw in one of the really early videos, certainly we use parts to make individual parts, but we put them together in assemblies. So we need to take this plan that will give us something we could actually build from, maybe, and it'll give us a list of parts. And we need to actually make our CAD model help us create these things. So let's get started with that. This is the next tutorial assignment for you, presented by your instructors. So let's get into it now. Here we are back to my wonky birdhouse. Now, I've done a couple of things since last you saw it. I really didn't like that profile that I showed, and so I basically cut the corners off it. So I made it a little bit less just a trapezoid, but I added these side bits to it. Now, one of the things I didn't do was I didn't make these bits kind of even, so I'm just going to fix that now. I'm going to make them even, like so, and maybe I'll modify a little bit like that. I took away the width of that line, so I should add that back. I think originally I had it 200, which seemed really huge. So I'm going to make that 120, something a little bit more realistic. And I'm happier with that profile. The other thing that I did was I thought, I'm not going to make this as a solid block. I'm actually going to try and making it as a folded sheet metal-y thing. So I'm going to modify what I've created here as this part to reflect what the actual part will be. Now, I've added these fillets, and I just did that by rolling back up here and inserting a fillet. And I put those in because my plan is to make something that I can fold it around these corners. So I thought, well, just to remind myself I'm going to fold it around those corners, I put those nice fillets in. And I left this corner sharp, this corner sharp, because that corner will be where the thing comes together. I could have picked a different corner, but that's what I did. Now, I've left this shell thing, but you know, that's really not going to help me build it. So I'm going to go back to the shell command, and I'm going to do a little modification to it, edit the feature. And in the shell command, I put in 2 millimeters, and that's because now that I'm thinking about how I'm going to make it, I realize that we have boxboard in the department that we use for laser cutting, and it's approximately 2 millimeters thick. I could be off a bit by that, but it's in that ballpark. Maybe it's 1.5, whatever. 2 millimeters, so I'm going to make this shell 2 millimeters thick. But the other thing is, because I want to fold this, I can remove faces from the shell. So I'm going to remove that face and that face and that face. Now I could also make different faces, different thicknesses. So be it. I don't need to do that for this. And if I finish that, you see what I've done. I've made a hollow shell. I've gotten rid of those faces, so it's cut this thing as a hollow shell. So this is a little different than what I've had before. That's all right. And I left those cuts for the holes for the birds to be the same. That's fine. The only other thing is maybe I want to add a hole for a perch. So I'm going to just stick another hole in this. And because I know I'm going to use a 1/4 inch dowel, just put that in there, 0.25 inches. There we have it. And that's a hole for the perch. Now the thing is, to make it stronger, I want to stick the perch all the way through. So I'm just going to add another cut. I guess I could have done this easier, but I'll do it this way. I'm going to do it on that plane. And I'm going to convert entity that one. And that's all I need. And I'm going to make this, instead of a blind cut, I'm going to go through all. I'm going to cut it right through the back wall. So now I know when I stick that perch through, I'm going to shove it all the way through the birdhouse, so it comes out the back end, and then the birdies have a thing they can stand on in the middle. Whatever. I'm not a bird biologist. Maybe I shouldn't be. So we'll leave that. That's good. Here's my new birdhouse kind of middle piece. Just going to save it. And now we're set up to go the next step. And I'll stop there for now. Thanks for watching. Come right back. We'll carry on with this exciting task.